So the idea of using feminism and decolonization theories in applied research in education is to probably put the attention and the lens on issues and problems that have been overlooked by other fields, or even by our own field, but by other researchers. So because we want to stop the reproduction of epistemological colonization. So that is to say, the kind of efforts that keep putting down knowledge by indigenous peoples, or by women, or by disabled people, or by all the kinds of populations that for one way or another probably from a certain standards we don't fit, but we're still here, we are people, and we have knowledge to share, so there are methodologies to us. But this question is a simple question, but yet a powerful one. Are our research questions inclusive enough? And what I mean by inclusive is whose perspective are integrated in our statements. And this is important to think about because we might be making assumptions that are actually harmful and we don't even know it. So just to put an example, let's say someone wants to research about the empowerment of oppressed women through digital platforms. This is a topic that could be very interesting and at the same time narrow. Why narrow? Because it is actually a small portion of the population in the whole world that has access to the internet and to technological devices. So of course, it is important and interesting to know their experiences, but can we really speak about empowerment and about oppression if we compare these women to other people around the world who have been, for example, forced to work, or who have been, for example, forced out of their territories because of different conflicts? The idea is just to call the attention to the language that we use in our methodologies, and to also open the spectrum of our research, because probably we are overlooking also some issues that might be right next to us, and we could be researching about them, but we're also overlooking. So let's just take a minute to think about this, and if the answer, if you reflect about your own research and your answer is yes, then how is your research contributing to build a better world? Let's just think 1 minute for all of us. In this sense, feminism, it brings methodologies to decolonize data even before we gather it. So first of all, by engaging in reflection on the questions that we have. What is the kind of data that we want to gather? What is it useful for? Also, putting our attention in issues that are probably not the most profitable or popular ones, but we approach them from these lenses to make a social change. And then when we talk about, so that is the stage of before gathering the data. Then when we're collecting the data, how can we access knowledge of people, but just going beyond a survey that we send out of the internet? That will give us some information, but probably there is more information that is hidden inside of people. So how can we access that information? So to analyze the data, there's another proposal from feminism, which is engaging participants in the actual analysis and in the actual interpretations. So there is a position of the researcher. Normally the researcher is looked at as the one that is knowledgeable and the one that is constructing the knowledge, but in fact we are just taking knowledge from people in qualitative data. So what if we engage in relationships with them that allow them also to have a word in how we interpret what we are collecting? So, like I said, the methods that we use: observation, interactions, interviews, ethnographic approaches, insider perspective, and of course feminist discourse analysis. Well, these are the normal ones that we have heard about before, but taking them from the feminist perspective, you would put yourself especially in the perspective of an insider. So you would have access to information that would not come out just of a survey. It would be information coming out of a meaningful relationship between the researcher and the participants. So if you're using interviews, for example, how can you approach interviews, or how can you make interviews thinking of all that? but you have different methods. You could make synchronous or asynchronous interactions for interviews, in-person meetings, on phone calls, on video calls. The thing is, it is the participant, the one who will decide how the participant will give you the information. Because you are actually wanting that, so you cannot impose the rules. The participant needs to be comfortable about sharing that information with you. The goal with all of this is to construct a space in which the participants they feel they can express freely what they want to express with you, and also, as this is the goal, we strive to build collaborative and sympathetic relationships. The 3 principles of feminist theory in education that we can actually apply to research. So situated knowledge means just learning from our everyday battles and from each other's experiences. Collaborating, it means just putting down the colonizing attitudes that keep dividing us. And my freedom is, in feminist research, is about using education for reflection, but I think we can also use research for reflection. So striving for my freedom.